I was thinking about if I were looking for a prenatal training, what I would want to consider. And I know there's a lot of trainings out there, and so I want to kind of give you my ideas of what I would think was important, and you could consider them or decide that other variables are more important. But the main ones that I came up with are the number one that I think a lot of people don't think about is this training going to give me a bunch of lists and do's and don'ts and then kind of leave me going, I don't know what to do with all these poses? Or is it going to give me principles that I can follow that will really help me feel confident and clear teaching prenatal yoga, right? So they're really two different things. And you'll notice that online that there's, this whole range of everything in between. So on the one end, it's a bunch of videos with a bunch of pose lists, which honestly, I've gotten a lot of people coming to my training saying, I did that kind of training, it did nothing. So I kind of want a real training. So, okay, so that's the first one. And we'll go through the rest. It's going to be about looking at the format, deciding whether it's right for you, looking at how comprehensive it is. Some people don't want the whole gamut of women's wellness, and some people do want to come out of this an expert, right? So you might only want a little piece of it. Is it a transformative experience? For me, I don't want to do anything that doesn't help me flourish as a human being. It's not just going to, give me some knowledge and some tools, but I want it to make my life better because life is short. And then finally, is it affordable, or are there, ways to invest that work for you? All right. So, so back to the first one. So in terms of, is it like principles or is it lists? So Ma Yoga is something I created back in 2009. Instead of just teaching a prenatal training, which I had been doing since 2006, I realized that there were principles that were so not only important for pregnancy and postpartum, but for all of us as powerful co-creators, that it was worth creating an entire school of yoga based in these principles. And I wanted to teach them and I wanted to live them. And yes, it's particularly, effective for your pregnant mamas, but they also apply to us. The lineage of Ma Yoga is sort of a combination of all of my background. I started yoga in the 90s and I got my kinesiology exercise science master's with a focus on rehabilitation exercise. So I was already very interested in how do I relieve pain and suffering, right? And meanwhile, I was a certified Anusara yoga teacher. Anusara is an alignment-based therapeutic yoga. So you'll find there are many kinds of yogas, but the kind that I have studied and practiced my whole adult life, and the kind that Ma Yoga is focused more on what we're doing inside the pose. In other words, like making space for baby in the back of the body, in the back of the pelvis where baby needs to go in order to be in optimal position, right? So we're using every yoga pose as an opportunity to align. And for the pregnant mama, that's going to be aligning with baby, making space for baby, and other principles that will follow. It's very much rooted in the idea of the masculine and the feminine. The masculine part of us being much more independent. I got this, checking off the list. The feminine part of us being more intuitive, collective, connected, nurturing, right? And so pregnancy really being this opportunity to connect to that more feminine part of us, to slow down and listen in. And that has everything to do with feminine power, which is a kind of body of thought, really about that we have a particular kind of power that is feminine, kind of in a flow, and that we can tap into. For me, in my experience, we tap into it when we start to take care of ourselves, when we learn how to take care of ourselves. And so that's why nurturing ourselves is such a big part of Ma Yoga. And evolutionary spirituality is this idea that we're all in process, that nobody's done, that we're not a complete, product, that we are constantly evolving. And that when we connect inward, we can listen to this sort of inner guide, inner wisdom that's leaning us into our possibilities, right? And so thus the practices, it's not like we want to live life all like we're meditating and, serene. It's more, we do that to clear the way so we can listen. Where is that inner desire called the evolutionary impulse kind of leading me next? So it's just words for what we all already experience. If you're finding your way to this video, you've already listened to that evolutionary impulse saying there's something here for me that I want to learn. And finally, diversity and inclusion is at the essence of who we are. We don't believe there's any right way to give birth. We don't believe there's any right place or right kind of team. We want our mamas to educate and meditate, right? So learn what the options are, learn the pros and cons, and then go inside and see what feels right for me out of all of that. So in terms of the principles of Ma Yoga, it's based like Ayurveda, the sister science to yoga, and really all of yoga. It's based in the 5 natural elements. So we're going to learn these elements in the context of supporting baby and supporting the mom-to-be. So for instance, we're going to talk about space. We're going to talk about it in terms of making space for baby. I mentioned in the back of the pelvis, also in the back of the body, right? But so how do we make space for baby? We actually want to focus a little more on the exhale than the inhale. The inhale is going to be focused a little more up in the top chest. So you can see how each of these is a doorway where we can actually learn so much about how to use yoga to support pregnant women and postpartum women. But they're principles, right? We're also going to do practices, and you're going to get your pose list, and you're going to get your do's and don'ts for sure. But you're going to walk away and know, how do I know if this pose is a prenatal pose? Because does it make space for baby, right? Can I create a strong container for baby within this pose? Can I cue doing a divine dance, releasing the groin muscles for mama so her round ligament doesn't cramp up and she's not tucking under, making more space in the pelvis? Can I invite her into engaging her core, but really safely, because I understand what that means to stand in our power and which muscles are engaged and how we're still making space for baby. And finally, become the Ma you want to be. This is in a pose, it's the stretch time, right? Putting yourself out there. In labor, it's like putting yourself out there, putting baby out there. And really just, these are really useful for life. So after we've kind of aligned with the different parts of ourselves, we can trust who we are, can stand up there as a teacher and trust what's flowing through us. So then we have format. This particular certification program, which is an 85-hour Yoga Alliance registered prenatal certification, has different ways you can do it. So some of them out there are just self-paced. You just watch some videos. Some of them out there are live, even maybe in your area. You can do an in-person one. Some of them are on Zoom. Ours is all of the above. So I offer the whole program twice a year, and it's coming up here pretty soon. And as of this recording, is September 13th. And you can sign up and then be with us on Zoom Wednesdays and Saturdays. For each, it's divided into 4 different trainings. So each one is 3 weeks, twice a week, Wednesdays and Saturdays. And if you miss any, you get an email that night that says, hey, the video is ready, here's a link. So you can stay with us. You can also do it completely self-paced if you prefer. And you could do a combination of both. So you're going along, you're watching your videos, but then you're like, oh, I think I'm going to hop into this session because I was a little confused there, or I have some questions. If something comes up, even if you were taking it live, you no longer can make it at all, you just email and we'll put you onto the roster for the next time. So we really created it, well, for busy nurturers of people and projects. So some of you out there are moms or going to be moms. Some of you out there are yoga teachers or doulas, and you don't necessarily get to be in charge of your schedule. So you might have the best of intentions, but we want to still make it really stress-free for you to continue on this path. We also have our training circles in our community where you can share as you go and ask questions and get support. And again, once you register, you have instant access, and then you have evergreen access. So you can go in forever. And I'm constantly updating the videos so you can get the latest info. There's also support along the way. So it's not just the sessions, but there's office hours. I have weekly alignment therapy workshops. So if there's a specific question you have, like I have a mama who her knee hurts in this pose, or her hip hurts, you know, I'll go and give you like a 5-minute, really simple video to understand the alignment for that area, and then also have a little practice to relieve pain and make it and keep it away. So you can give that to your mama, or if it's for you, you can just use that. There's a one-on-one mentorship that's included. So once you have all this information, you'll probably be feeling a little bit overwhelmed. We'll work one-on-one with you and get you teaching. So you'll record yourself practice teaching with a friend, and we'll give you some feedback, so that way you're confident and ready to go once you are done. And even before you're done with the program, after your mentorship, a lot of people are ready, and Yoga Alliance requires 30 hours of prenatal teaching. So you can apply to teach with us on our platform. There's a free training for how to deal with the online stuff, all the Zoom technical stuff, and plus, you know, how we change our teaching when we're online. So you can certainly do that after your mentorship, even if you're not certified. And generally, people are ready to teach after that. So that's after the first 2 training modules, the yoga of pregnancy and the yoga of healing. You have your mentorship. You can start your mama circle in your town, and I give you support for that. And then there's also nurturing business coaching. So as you're starting your mama circle, I can help you with authentic marketing that's aligned with, you know, our spiritual beliefs, so it doesn't have to feel icky. So how is it divided up in this format? And it's also moving into the next thing, which is this comprehensive? So this is, I would say, from the research I've done, the most comprehensive training that you can get online. And the reason is that for me, as a prenatal yoga teacher, I found that a lot of people think of us as part of their healthcare team, and they might come and say, you know, my baby's not pooping, or they might say, I have, you know, this weird cramping near my uterus. And it's not that we're replacing their doctor. We're absolutely going to recommend that they have everything checked out, but there's so much that people can do on their own, both to relieve the anxiety around all these worries and also to support healing. So I want you to have all that stuff for on and off the mat. The first training, the first 3-week training, is the yoga of pregnancy. And this is our main prenatal and postpartum teacher training. So we go through the trimesters and we address all the changes with poses and sequences and themes, and of course our alignment principles. Now, some people who maybe you're a yoga teacher and you just really feel like you get very nervous when somebody comes into their room pregnant. And you know, you don't necessarily want to teach prenatal yoga. You just want to feel safe and you want to feel confident. So that might be all you need to do, is just the yoga of pregnancy teacher training. If you decide, yeah, I'm going to keep going, the next one would be the yoga of healing, also called prenatal yoga too. And this one takes us deeper into our alignment principles, where we really learn how to get somebody out of pain if, let's say, they're in down dog and their wrists hurt, or they just have, you know, low back pain in general. So it can be on and off the mat. Plus there's a lot of, this is Desi, by the way, Desi just woke up. Plus there's a lot of postpartum conditions that we can help prevent and help heal, and just postpartum healing in general. After that is Ayurveda self-care. Ayurveda is the sister science to yoga. So it's the Indian healthcare system. It's about 5,000 years old. It's the oldest healthcare system still in use today. And we're going to learn our daily rhythms, our food as medicine practices, and our self-care routines for moms, for pregnant women, for kids and colds, and also just for busy people like us who we know we want to take care of ourselves. We have a half an hour. We're not sure what to do at that time. These are the things that get built into our day that are go-to. They make us feel great, like a quick coconut oil massage before the shower. And then finally, the yoga of birth. This is what we're preparing our mamas for. It's taught by 2 doulas and senior Ma Yoga teachers. And it's all the mantras, mudras, meditations, movements for every stage of labor, plus pros and cons of all the choices our mamas will have. And the question that I had asked before in terms of what I would want to know is it transformative? And again, these principles that you'll learn, I call them the keys to co-creation. So obviously we need to know them for pregnancy, but they are incredibly helpful for anything we are creating with the universe, which is pretty much anything, right? We're never just creating in a vacuum, but it's a particular awareness, like as a mom, right? We know we're not in control of our kid, but when we work with space, right? Showing up as just presence, right? Letting go of our expectations of who we think they are or should be, right? And then earth, boundaries, right? Creating these, this is not what we do in a restaurant. If you need to throw food, we could go outside, right? So those very loving boundaries that we set. You know, writing a poem, right? We're going to open up, become receptive. What wants to move through me? And then we start to maybe flow with it, and we're writing out our vision of a purple flower or whatever. And then we think, oh, I might have, you know, I might make rice and veggies for lunch. Okay, that's not my poem. This is my poem, right? So for any co-creative act, what you're going to learn here is going to be really, really useful. And then finally, is it affordable? So I'm going to go ahead and share the webpage that lays out the prices, but basically you can pay up front, you can do the payment plan, or you can pay as you go. Obviously, paying up front is going to be the most inexpensive way to do it. And if you go to prenatalteachertraining.com and then click on register, you'll see all the prices laid out. If you do the payment plan, it's still a really, really good deal. And honestly, it's almost the same. It's a little bit more. And you get all of the bonuses, the 6 months free Ma Collective membership. If you go to mayoga.com and you go to teacher training, it kind of gives you this overview, but on the register page, it will take you through everything that's included. So you have all of these trainings, and then 6 months of our highest level membership with the business coaching and masterclasses. And then you have the personal coaching. It's $12.97, or the payment plan is $357. If you're not sure, or you think, well, maybe I just want just the one prenatal training, the 3-week one. If you go to mayoga.com and go to calendar, you'll be able to see the dates and deets of each of these trainings. And on here, you can register for just this training or for the whole program.